To be mindful is to be aware that you're having intentions all the time, and to be interested and curious about what sort of intentions are going on within you, how you can be more conscious about your intentionality, and by being more conscious about your intentions, direct your life in a more benevolent, creative, successful way.
Toby Ouvry, an ex-Buddhist monk and mindfulness master with over 30 years of experience. Toby is the founder of Integral Meditation Asia, where he teaches and coaches everyone from top execs to everyday Joes.
One thing to be mindfully curious around is, well, in my love relationships, what am I really looking for? Is it purely the Eros? How much Agape do I want? How important is that to the ingredients of my relationship? And what about the Philia, the friendliness? Love is a tender and a beautiful thing, which is why it's so vulnerable making. If you can be courageous enough to embrace the different dimensions of it, then it'll start to offer you its gifts.
Welcome back to PSI Love Me, the podcast for ambitious, high-achieving women navigating the beautiful chaos of trying to have it all. I'm your host, Lynda Williams, and today we are diving deep into the heart of one of life's biggest mysteries. Can mindfulness actually help us find love? Joining me today is someone truly special to me. Toby Ouvry, an ex-Buddhist monk and mindfulness master with over 30 years of experience. He's actually my go-to when I need a bit of a pep talk and replaced my regular psychotherapist years ago. Toby is the founder of Integral Meditation Asia, where he teaches and coaches everyone from top execs to everyday Joes. He spent a decade training in Tibetan tradition, even 5 years as a Buddhist monk, and now he shares his wisdom with global leaders. But today, we're going beyond the boardroom. We're talking about love and connection and how mindfulness can actually help us open our hearts in the middle of busy, high-performing lives. Welcome, Toby. It's so great to have you.
Pleasure to be here, Lynda. Yeah, fantastic.
Well, let's dive in. You've taught mindfulness in some of the world's most high-performing environments. How does it relate to something as soft and soulful as love?
Mindfulness is really the act of remembering what it is you are intending to do in any given moment. So you can't really do anything without a degree of mindfulness. And somebody who's interested in practicing mindfulness is just somebody who's interested in, who understands that mindfulness is, to be good at mindfulness, is to be better at your overall process of doing life. So really mindfulness is comprised of three things: intentionality, attentionality, and awareness.
Deep dive a little bit more into those three areas.
Yeah, so you don't really do anything without an intention, right? So at any point in your waking and dreaming life, you have an intention to do something conscious or unconscious. All right. The only time you don't have an intention really is in deep dreamless sleep, when there's absolutely nothing going on that level. But even if you're dreaming, that in a dreaming there's a narrative where you're intending to go somewhere or do something during the day. You're either consciously, I've got to go to work now, or I've got to go talk to so and so, or there's just a more kind of spontaneous subconscious intention to do things. Oh, whoopsie daisy, I just ate the whole pack of crisps by accident, or whatever it is. So conscious and unconscious intentions, but it's an all-accompanying factor, intentionality. So to be mindful is to be aware that you're having intentions all the time, and to be interested and curious about what sort of intentions are going on within you, and be interested and curious about how you can be more conscious about your intentionality, and by being more conscious about your intentions, direct your life in a more benevolent, creative, successful way. So intentionality is happening all the time, and mindful intention is fundamental about in terms of being successful and benevolent and creative in your life. So your intention then directs your attention. So wherever you intend your attention to go, your conscious attention focusing in that area, right? Your intention directs your attention directs your awareness or your consciousness, your conscious energy. Wherever your attention is focused, your energy, your conscious awareness will flow in that direction. So you talk about mindfulness, it's really just about mastery of these three all accompanying factors: intention, attention, and awareness. And just recognizing that it's almost like a pre-skill. The better you are at in general, in terms of intentionality, attention, and awareness, the more successful the more you'll be able to bring yourself to any given activity or domain of life and make it likely that you'll be successful.
And when it comes to love and finding your partner, again, it comes to intention and awareness. Who are you? Looking inwards, understanding yourself. What do you actually want? What values are close to you? What do you want in a partner? And when you're intentional, that's where the energy goes and that's where the focus goes. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And also noticing that there are the intentions that I think I have and the things that I think I want. And there are the intentions that are more to do with conditioning that are not fully conscious or not fully consciously articulated. And noticing whether there is a harmonic or that they're kind of on the same page, or whether there is a bit of a difference. Very few people would say, I don't want to be happy in my relationships and I don't want a lasting love. You wouldn't say that, but quite a few people's conditioning, as in the kind of the things they've been led to expect, the aspects of their self-image that have been put in place over time as they've grown up. There may be quite a lot of those that say, well, no, I'm actually not the sort of person who deserves a stable love experience. My sense of my own value relative to the prospect of having a really wonderful relationship is might be contradicting each other. And so mindfulness in that sense it's not necessarily about I'm going to be totally intentional from now on. I'm going to be really disciplined around my attention, and I'm going to make my awareness follow my will. It's more a matter of being curious about the interplay between my conscious and unconscious intentions, my idea of where I want to place my attention consciously and where it just sometimes goes for whatever reason. Interested and curious and accepting before I then go and try and so-called fix myself or change my intentions and go get what I want. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes complete sense, because the more aware we are, the more intentional we are, the more we understand ourselves and we're a product of our experience, and whether it's how we've been brought up around what love is and how to love and how to receive love. So a product of our experiences, also societal norms and our communities and everything around us. What is the norm there when it comes to healthy relationships? So indeed, there could be quite a lot of unpacking to do once you become aware of what you want, what you think you want, how you've been brought up, any triggers, any emotional baggage that you may have that you're bringing forward into potential relationships. So it's quite a big realm of things to unpack. And when it comes to mindfulness, because if you tell a high achieving woman, oh, mindfulness, they're like, oh, I don't have time for that. It's like meditation. The biggest thing people say when it comes to mindfulness and meditation, oh, I can't meditate. I'm just too busy. My mind's too all over the shop. And it's the same with mindfulness, but they're two of the biggest game changers on the planet. And they're both scientifically proven to work and support us in our everyday lives. But what would you say when it comes to mindfulness? How can a high-achieving, busy woman create space and create time to incorporate mindfulness in her everyday life?
I mean, we talk about our mindful relationship to love. There's also our mindful relationship to time. And, it's interesting just to reflect on our experience. We think we know how time is. I don't have much time. I have got time for this, I haven't got time for that, blah, 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 blah. But then actually, time is also and substantially a psychological phenomenon. I mean, first of all, time is a concept. I mean, the past, the future, within the context of the present, these are all conceptual. They're mental things. So your sense of how fast, and we all have this from our own experience, when you're in a working environment and you're on a roll and things are going very, very fast, there is a sense of time you have then. And then perhaps you go on holiday or go into the countryside and you unplug from the internet for a while, and suddenly you have a sense of time unfolding in a completely different way. And so, yeah, there's just it's a good mindful question. What is my relationship to time? Is it working for me? And is being busy the best way to get the most things done well?
Because mindfulness as well is about being present. And if we're always in our masculine energy, our planning energy, strategy, doing, planning for the future, life is just actually going to pass us by at a rate of knots. And we're not actually stopping to smell the roses or understand ourselves or check in with ourselves. So mindfulness can actually be linked to presence as well, right?
I mean, there's two things that come from this. One is that I suppose if you feel like you're too busy to do any mindfulness, then where is that feeling coming from? And might it be interesting to create a bit of time for mindfulness and notice whether or not that actually makes you more or less effective in doing the things you need to do in your life, but then also noticing the way in which it affects the quality of your experience. Because the thing about being in a slightly more masculine doing to-do list execution mode all the time is you never really get to the end of it. And when you do get to the end of it, well, what am I going to do? Well, I better give myself a bunch of other things to do.
I'm used to that. I'm used to being in that go, go, go mode.
Right. And it's like chasing the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's like it's all in the chasing, and it's not designed to let you arrive and appreciate the rewards of your arriving. So there's a danger that you get into a pattern of what you call it might be quite ironic, because you might be a high achieving person, but actually you're living in a bit of a world of scarcity when nothing is ever quite enough. You never reach that point of feeling sufficient, appreciative, abundant with it, rich within yourself. And so you don't get the chance to enjoy the rewards of all your work. So there is that danger, or that possibility. And there's also another way of being a high achiever that isn't necessarily about being in a rush all the time, but is where you're creating and achieving from a sense of sufficiency, inner wealth, plenitude. I've got a lot of stuff. I've got a great life, and I'm achieving in order to express that richness, in order to enjoy my sufficiency, in order to be generous to the world with what I've got to offer, and to have fun and enjoy myself, not to make up for my gnawing sense of insufficiency, or my to make up for the lack of inherent value that sometimes that for whatever reason I got trapped in over the years. Or so with mindfulness, really the idea is to combine enjoyment and effectiveness. Enjoyment and effectiveness. So you don't have to sacrifice your sense of qualitative enjoyment, pleasure, and fun in life to be highly effective. And you could be highly effective and enjoying that experience from a position of fullness in the moment, rather than doing it in the belief that at a certain point you could stop and you'll finally arrive at happiness.
I mean, a lot of the work that we did together, I'm very mindful these days, and it's not like, oh, I spend an hour in the morning being mindful. It's like these little moments throughout the day where I'm consciously understanding how I'm feeling. So I'm curious about how I'm feeling. If my gut is flipping for some reason when I meet someone or do some work, I'm curious about that. I'm caring about myself as well. I'm not beating myself up anymore. So the care and the compassion and the curiosity, that's what you taught me in a lot of the programs that we did together, has been a game changer for me. So it's integrating mindfulness as part of your life, and it just becomes a way of living where you stop. You're conscious of how you're feeling, you're conscious of how you're acting, you're exploring it with curiosity and understanding why. But you also, that third thing that you also taught me is to not beat yourself up. Be caring with yourself when you're trying to do 1,000,001 things, when life gets stressful, when things don't always go your way. Be compassionate, be caring with yourself. And that for me has really, really helped navigate mindfulness. So you've spoken about creative resilience. How can that inner creativity support us in kind of matters of the heart and emotional connection?
Well, to loop that back to, I mean, there was an initial question around how can mindfulness link to being better at love, or and when we talk about high performance and be a high performing woman or man, quite a lot of people who are in that space spend a lot of time in states of awareness that are primarily head-based, primarily cognitive, conceptual. And the interesting thing about both resilience and love is the kind of powerhouse that they come from. It is really at a zone of awareness that is really further down in the body, is in the kind of heart space and somewhat down in the belly space. So the difficulty, if you're a bit of a high achiever when it comes to love, is your habitual way of framing things is through the lens of the mind and through the head, whereas the language of love and loving communication and interaction and the process of giving and receiving love is very much a heart-centered activity and way of being aware. And so what that means is, on a literal level, when you're going from being a busy higher achiever in, for example, your business, where a lot of it is organizing things, doing meetings, getting things done, working with your head, working with time, working with being organized, which is really a kind of substantially above the neck. So then, okay, so now I'm going to go on a date. Oh, okay, right. Well, I need to make sure I'm on time, and you start to approach the date from this kind of headspace, really. Whereas really, actually, one thing to be mindful around is, okay, so now I'm about to have a potentially loving interaction with someone, or an intrapersonal interaction with a friend or a partner or a potential partner or whatever. Then, so I'm going to bring on a literal physical level, just my center of awareness from my head down, into the body, into the heart space. And that's an interesting thing to try and do, because one of the things we start to notice when you go into the heart, you can feel one of the first feelings can be kind of vulnerability. Ooh, a bit kind of tender down there. It's a bit touchy-feely. It's not something I can control through action or organization or this or that. It's just kind of a feeling state that is open and vulnerable, which is kind of why, if we don't practice a little bit, we end up kind of unconsciously avoiding it. Well, I'll stay on my head break. Thank you very much. It's more comfortable up here. It's not as vulnerable feeling, right? So So, but the thing is, if you're, so that kind of feeling of vulnerability is also when you love, from necessarily from this position of vulnerability. You don't go, oh shit, I'm fine, thanks. I'm totally organized. I've got my stocks and bonds all invested in the right way. I've paid off the mortgage. Yeah, thanks very much. What do you got to offer? Like this. It's not like it's it's not like that. So it's like oh yeah. So it's here we are meeting together, and are we going to have a conversation and an exchange of energy, of giving and receiving that is feeling based, that is heart based. And that's kind of, that's quite uncomfortable. Not sure about that. So then we try to transact our love experience from our head. And then, and if it's a heady type of love, not only is it quite cut off from the somatics of the heart, where the love is really centered, but it's my idea of love. It's what I think I want. It's what should be happening. It all becomes very conceptual and cognitive. And in that space, it becomes very difficult to really be present to the other person in the experience, non-conceptually. And it becomes very easy to kind of start to throw our ideas of what we think that person is or isn't from the headspace onto them. It becomes very conceptual. How we actually feel and what we're actually feeling in the moment, and what's available to us in the moment on the heart level, and what we think should be happening, and what we want to be happening, and what we're thinking about, the kind of cognitive side, there's just a lot of interference coming from that level.
If you love PSI Love Me and want to dive in deeper, then join the Evolve Woman, my 8-week online coaching program, which will take you on a transformative journey of self-discovery, fulfillment, and to find the joy and love you so deserve. Check out my Instagram, Lynda Williams Coach, to find out more. That's so interesting on many levels, because you're right. We have these lists of values and what we want in a partner, and we're checking those off consciously in our head. Are they right for us? That number one, that's going on. Number two, when you've been hurt before, you are conscious to not drop into your heart too soon and be vulnerable too soon. So it's a bit of a swinging pendulum going on between the head and the heart, in terms of letting yourself drop down into your heart when it's right, when you feel safe to open your heart. And that can be really tough for some people who have been so desperately hurt, and going back there makes them feel potentially uncomfortable, because it might happen again. Feeling vulnerable can feel scary to many. What are kind of your thoughts around that?
There's a kind of a sense in which our relationship to the person within us that is vulnerable becomes very important in this type of circumstance. Meaning, and it's a bit of a cliche, but there's a reason some things are cliches, right? But our first relationship, the person we spend 24 hours a day with, is ourself. And so then the question then becomes, okay, so how do I treat the part of me on a kind of everyday habitual level? How do I treat the part of me that is feeling vulnerable at any given moment? What is me as the conscious self saying to them? How do I approach them? Do I say, hello, vulnerable Toby, how are you doing this morning? So I feel really vulnerable and scared. Well, it sucks to be you. I'm off to be busy. To try not to sweat it too much, and good luck for you. And then if you're vulnerable, well, thanks a lot, Toby. Really great, fantastic, great, lovely. So because vulnerability is an uncomfortable feeling for a lot of people, what we do is we feel the vulnerability. You say, go away. The part of us that feels vulnerable, we push out. We push out of our conscious awareness quite regularly, and it becomes a bit of a stranger to us. So if you want to feel strong and resilient in positions of love vulnerability with other people, then it's a good practice to deliberately and consciously open to your own sense of vulnerability, and practice being present to that vulnerable part of yourself with a sense of genuine care, compassion, support, friendliness, non-rejection, non-judgmental, open-heartedness, and just let that part of you know that you are with them for the journey. You are with them for the duration of this. And even if you don't get a boyfriend or a girlfriend or the right partner, we've always got ourselves. And this is kind of the kind of, yeah. Even if everybody else in the whole world rejects me, I've got me. We've got us, me, myself, and I speaking. And so we'll figure our way through to make this work.
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it. And also what you were saying with being curious about the vulnerability. And that's when you actually need the head and the heart, not to work separately, but to work together. So the head is curious about that vulnerability. Okay, what is it that you're feeling uncomfortable about? What are you scared about specifically? What has happened before? What are actually the facts that are coming up? So say if you're at the beginning of a new relationship, for instance, and you're starting to feel a little bit uneasy about being vulnerable and opening your heart, really being curious with that and exploring that and understanding where that has come from, looking at the facts at play in your current early relationship. Is there any signs or needs to be a little bit cautious? Is that person presenting in a way that, yes, don't drop down into your heart just yet, continue to explore more before you open your heart? Or is it just we are a product of our experiences, and some of the past relationships and experiences that we've been through have caused us to be a little bit cautious and potentially scared of opening our hearts? So I love what you were saying about, using our head to support that vulnerability instead of just shutting it out. Using our centers, it's our head, a head center, heart center, and our gut center. Of course, our gut is really powerful as well. It's providing that gut feeling when something feels off. So using those three centers can be incredibly powerful. But again, it's all about being mindful and about in that present and exploring ourselves with curiosity and care.
Well, I mean, apart from love, one of the other big things that is a big heart qualities is, courage. And French cœur, right? Heart, courage, courageousness, full-heartedness. Bravery is full-heartedness, right? So, and so I, as you know, I often put these three C's into a little team that we're working with: curiosity, courage, and care. And being mindful with curiosity, which is a bit more heady, but a warm, non-judgmental, wise headiness, with these two heart qualities, which is the caring and the courage. And you don't need to be like a super brave person to start working with the courage that you have today. If you can just center within your heart space around the courage you have, the little bit of courage you've got, then that can often be quite transformative in what you feel capable of doing around love with yourself and in your relationships with other people. So, just having the courage to. And courage is a key to unlocking your relationship to vulnerability, isn't it? I'm scared of being vulnerable. Well, okay, so let's bring a bit more courage to bear upon my feelings of fear around this, and maybe I can just today be, being a 5, 10, 15% more courageous and explore my vulnerability and build my relationship to vulnerability just that 5, 10, 15% better today and this week. And if I build on that, then it'll compound over time.
And quite often it can be baby steps when it comes to courage, taking that first little step to be open and to be vulnerable. okay, let's do a small little step and see how that is. Be curious about how I felt. Be curious about how that went. How was it received? And it's like confidence as well. It's a muscle that has to be activated and squeezed for it to get better. And it's the same with courage, isn't it? Really, just taking those first few small steps, being curious, evaluating it. Okay, that wasn't so bad after all. And that's when you can build on it. But it's being mindful and curious about how you felt, how it went, and moving forward from there.
You kind of mentioned people's hesitancy around opening up your heart too soon, because there is the past trauma, right? And trauma by its definition is they're parts of ourselves that are locked in the past. They're trapped in the past, in past experiences. So in order to work with that before enduring you get into a relationship, it's very important to spend time with the parts of you that have been hurt in the past and just letting them know that, hey, hold on, where you are, you don't need to stay there. You can come with me into the present moment. And part of what I would call therapeutic mindfulness, which is really the art of bringing the parts of you that are locked in the past, that have been traumatized by past experiences and are still locked in that place. It's the art of bringing them into the present moment, inviting them, hey, come with me. You're welcome here. You're not where you think you are. Where you think you are, or where you imagine yourself to still be, is the past. It is the past. Come with me to the present moment. And so, and what that then does is because you can't really get rid of your past trauma. I mean, you can squash it if you like, but what will happen is, if you've got past trauma from love or whatever thing that happened to you, you push it into your unconscious mind. Like, okay, I'm going to go on a date, or I'm going to start a new business. I'm just going to stop all this fear. I push it down to the unconscious, and then you get in front of the other person. What happens is your past fear and wound will project itself onto the other person from your unconscious.
People seem to forget that we operate from our subconscious, not our conscious, most of the time, right? And that's when, if we don't process or bring that experience up to date, it can come out in quite unhealthy ways.
Yeah, and be very, very confusing for us, because we don't understand what the hell's going on, because our conscious mind, as far as I'm concerned, I don't know where this came from or what happened there, because we literally didn't see it, because it's not within the spotlight of your conscious awareness. So, which is why with mindfulness, and there are certain particular mindfulness skills where you do train to really focus the spotlight of your conscious awareness on one thing for an extended period of time. And this is like going to the gym and building muscles, particular skills and particular strengths in particular ways. But the kind of art of mindfulness is really about just taking half a step back and noticing the bigger picture of what's going on within your field of awareness, and noticing there's all the dance of things you can see and things you can't quite see, and things that you were expecting and things that you weren't quite expecting. And then there's kind of the interaction or interchange between as you were mentioning, your head, your heart, your belly. And it's also it's an interpersonal exchange with another person that's also going on with them. So how you're feeling, they pick up on consciously or unconsciously. And then they say something that's kind of a reaction to that. And there's a lot of things going on. That's a lot of conversations going on. Conversations, if you like, And I hope listeners don't get the impression this. Oh my God, this is incredibly complicated. How am I ever going to work any of this all out? But really, what mindfulness does is it just okay. I'm aware of my field of awareness. I'm relaxed, curious. I'm a bit courageous. I'm caring, and And the atmosphere which I'm doing is I like to call it positive imperfectionism. It's never going to be 100% right. You're never going to do it perfect. That's never going to happen. It's always going to be shades of imperfection and incremental improvements. But it's going to be positive. Within that imperfection, there's going to be plenty of positive things happening, one way or the other. So the game, and it's a game, is the game of positive imperfection and incremental improvement. And then in the moment, I'm just trying to hold my sense of the present moment, a sense of being present, I'd say, to the other person. We'll stick with a relationship, a personal relationship, and just opening to what we feel is going on in the space and seeing what we notice. And if you practice being really be present in that way, your functional learning and the growth of your wisdom will happen just gently and organically over time. You get gradually better at it.
You talked about 2 or 3 different frameworks here, which are so helpful and useful. So just to remind our listeners, what are a couple of the main frameworks that you want people to take away that will really help busy, high-achieving women in their daily lives, both at work, but also to find more balance and to engage in meaningful love?
On a very simple and experiential level, the movement of one's awareness from the head just down into the heart space, and learn to have that conversation, that experiential conversation from that level. Of course, with the head as a useful comrade. The head is curiosity, heart, courage, and care. Centering down like that. Coming to it from a position of fullness, sufficiency. Now, and feeling I don't need this relationship to fix me. I have a sense of my own fullness, my own sufficiency, my enjoyment of who I am, and I'm seeing if I can meet someone where we can have two healed, healthy people coming together to form something that is more than the sum of the parts. I'm good at what I am, and see if we can go. I'm going over. I'm not trying to get by. I'm not on walking stick. I'm an emotional cripple. Can you help me out, please? I'm coming from a point of fullness, and sometimes the date might fail because the person that you're dating isn't up for that. Isn't up for such a healthy, abundant, healthy psychological being meeting another healthy psychological being. So be prepared to fail. Sometimes even when you're coming up from a healthy, balanced way, and don't worry about that too much. That's so coming at it from a position of fullness. Part of that fullness is going to be working on your ongoing healthy relationship to your vulnerability.
Yeah, that's a good point to make, because we're never 100% fully healed and healthy, are we? It's as long as we're on that journey and awareness, and we're curious about our feelings, and we're committed to open and doing the work on evolving those past experiences and traumas. So we're healed to some degree when we're entering a relationship, but it's really is all about awareness and understanding ourselves and understanding how we show up in a relationship, in dating. And again, this is where mindfulness comes into it, is being aware and being curious about how we're showing up, not just about our feelings and what's happening around our heart, but also being aware and mindful about how we're showing up and how we're bringing any of our past traumas or experiences into communication, into dating, into relationships.
There are 3 types of relational love that I think about and use quite a lot when I'm thinking about my relationships in general, but certainly my love relationships. And these 3 traditionally are Eros, Agape, and Philia. Have you ever heard of these before?
No.
Okay, so Eros, Agape, Philia, right? So Eros is the love exchange between lovers. It's matter reaching towards spirit. So it's an upward movement. So when you fall in love romantically, you feel, I'm moving up on cloud 9, right? So it's erotic love is it rises you up. You feel like you're on a high, and it's also generative. You become incredibly energized and creative when you're in love, right? You know what I mean? You suddenly you find all this energy, and you suddenly you come up with all the people that are probably come up with 5 suggestions. Where did that come from? Oh, I don't know. I was just thinking about it. You become very creative. It's generative, and of course, physically, sometimes a romantic relationship ends in the generation of more small physical beings and so forth, right? So there's Eros. There is that side of love. There is Agape, which is more the parent-to-child type of love, which is more like an embracing, compassionate feeling. The classic archetype is Mary and baby Jesus, this type of thing, something like that. But it's a parental love, an embracing, enveloping love. And then Philia is like sibling love or love between friends, companion, that kind of companionship dimension of things. So we're somewhat focused on romantic love here, but it's worth thinking about, what do you want in your love relationship? And so of course, the romantic part is often exciting and so forth, but there's also, I kind of, there's my inner child who kind of wants a cuddle and wants to be looked after, which is, I want a bit of agape too, right? And for other people, it's like, I want a companion. I want somebody to have a laugh with. I want like a peer-to-peer kind of relationship. And so one thing to be mindfully curious around is, in my love relationships, what am I really looking for? Is it purely the Eros? How much agape do I want? How important is that to the ingredients of my relationship? And what about the Philia, the friendliness? And even, as far as I'm concerned, it's really important to be able to talk frankly with your partner as an equal, and have laughs and go through difficult times on that kind of friendly way. So when you talk about building a love relationship, being curious about, okay, here's the agape side. This is how I think the Eros is going with this person. Here's the agape, and here's the Philia, and these are the kind of quantities that he wants, and these are the quantities that I want. And just be interested in these 3 qualities of love.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting framework, because you want that, emotional sexual intimacy. You want to be cared for and loved for, and you want to also love and care for that other person as well. And you do want someone who you can be best buddies with, who's your mate to come home to as well. So it's that balance of all 3, and it's being conscious of how important each of those areas are, and understanding and being curious about what is coming up for you and what you really want, not what you think you want, and what's beholden to you to what will make you happy, essentially. So going back to you, I'm really curious. Obviously, you were a monk for 5 years, which is incredible, and obviously you're married now with children. But tell me a little bit more about, how did being a monk and your Tibetan studies, how did that really shape your understanding of love, and how did it change you?
I think one of the things it did in my relationship to women, I became a monk, I think, around 25, which is not exactly, I wasn't exactly an old man. I was not like, I'm done sexually. I've had it. I'm too old now. It was like I was right in the wheelhouse where most people are having, are fairly active in that kind of dating and sexual side of things. So but I was just really like motivated to get into meditation. Just wanted to cut everything else out and become really good at this particular area of life mastery. But it did create a boundary in my love relationship with women, obviously, because I couldn't date anybody. It was a celibate monk thing. But what I noticed is it opened up a whole new realm of relationship, of loving relationship between myself and women. And I wasn't living just in a monastery with just monks. It was a mixed community with men and women, lay people and ordained people. Because there was a relationship, a physical boundary around my relationship to women, there was just some really beautiful ways of interacting platonically with women who clearly there would have been a strong there was a magnetic attraction to, and just having a very restrained, platonic, beautiful, creative love experiences with women in that space was very lovely. And also, it kind of meant that when I went back to being a layperson in everyday life, I think my way of relating to women with love felt kind of a bit broader and more open, where there was that sense of genuine sharing and intimacy and emotional connection that this doesn't necessarily need to lead to anything sexual. It's just fulfilling it in and of itself, and it's lovely. And so I guess I kind of, because there was the necessary restraint at that point, it opened up a whole new dimension of relatively subtle love and heart intimacy that I take with me that I'm still enjoying exploring to this day, and is very lovely.
Yeah, I love that, because that enabled you to explore all the other facets of a relationship, platonic. When you're building all your friendships and relationships with women, when you were in that stage, it was all about exploring the other person in a obviously in a non-sexual way, but really getting to understand them on other levels, their intellectual level, their emotional level, their interests, their values, their morals, their visions, their life story, their pasts. So there's a whole big trunk of stuff to explore there when you haven't got the Eros involved. And I think that's actually quite a healthy way of building a solid friendship and a relationship.
Sure. And I mean, there was a lady called Barbara Marx Hubbard, who was one of the, I suppose, in the 60s, 70s, part of the New Age scene in America, the kind of more sensible cutting edge section of the New Age scene in America in those days. And she used to talk about in terms of suprasexual relationships, which means actually when there is an erotic magnetism between a man and a woman, or two people are attracted to each other, if it doesn't ground itself sexually, it just makes available to both parties, a tremendous amount of creativity, which you can then deploy on an emotional level, on a creative level, on a work level, on an art level. And I kind of really, I am an artist originally by trade. And so that was also, even during my career as an artist and training as an artist at art school, I think that was always a space also where there was this slightly different experience of Eros, whereas you could be very close to a woman and kind of holding hands, but it would be friendly but hyper creative, which is not necessarily like a common thing that people talk about a lot these days, but that was kind of part of my experience. And so there's just a lot of beauty there for me, really. And I think love is a tender and a beautiful thing, which is why it's so vulnerable making. If you can be courageous enough to embrace the different dimensions of it mindfully and without being in a big hurry, then it'll start to offer you its gifts, so to speak.
Well, Toby, this has been absolutely fascinating, and so many helpful frameworks and theories and experiences to share. So much helpful knowledge. You're a trove of treasure. And what's next for you, Toby? What have you got coming up over the coming months?
Well, I mean, it's mostly just keeping on with what I do, what I enjoy and love best. I keep trying to find time for more physical artwork, doing some sculpture, but between children and work, that's maybe a few years off. So I in the meantime, I just enjoy creating live art experiences in my meditation classes, meeting people in a space of vulnerability in my coaching sessions, and seeing what we can co-create together for their lives, and enjoying the adventure. I mean, I always think about being a meditator and mindfulness practices. You be present to today and let the adventure unfold, and just be as gently full-blooded about today as you can be, and that way, moment to moment, you feel like you've lived a very full and creative life.
Beautiful words to end with. Toby, thank you so much for joining us. That's it for today's episode of PSI Love Me. I hope you've learned some interesting nuggets to weave into your everyday life to feel a little lighter, brighter, and inspired. If you loved today's episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps more high-achieving women like yourselves to find us. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Lynda Williams Coach, for more daily inspiration and updates.